Hello, my name is Margaret. I'm 47 years old. 3 minutes. That's how long I was clinically dead. But in those 3 minutes, I experienced something that shattered everything I thought I knew about life, death, and the choices we make. I met Jesus, and he showed me a truth about abortion, about countless unseen lives that left me forever changed. This isn't just my story. It's a message I was sent back to share. On February 14th, I died during a snowstorm on I-25 in Denver, Colorado. That morning started like any other. I got up at 5:30 a.m., same as always. I made coffee, black with 1 sugar, fed our old golden retriever, Samson, and packed a granola bar in my purse. I barely said a word to my husband, Frank. He was sitting at the table, rubbing his lower back, taking his pain pills with orange juice, same routine he's had since his surgery last fall. We didn't argue that morning, but that almost made it worse. It was the silence, the kind that sits heavy in the air like fog. We used to talk, laugh. Now it felt like we were just 2 people sharing a roof, barely hanging on. Work was work. I'm a senior nurse at a Planned Parenthood clinic. Been in women's health for over 20 years. I used to feel proud of what I did, like I was standing up for women who had no one else. But lately, it's been harder, heavier. That day, Valentine's Day, we had 2 late-term procedures scheduled. One of the girls was just 19, scared out of her mind. I held her hand through the whole thing, told her she was brave, and maybe she was. I don't judge the women who come in. Honestly, most of them are just trying to survive, but something about that day felt off. I don't know how to explain it. My chest felt tight, like something was pressing down on me. After the last patient left, I sat in the staff break room staring at the vending machine. I didn't even want dinner, just wanted to go home and sleep for a week. My phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from Frank. I'd forgotten we had dinner plans. First time in months, he'd made a reservation, too. I didn't even text him back. Just grabbed my keys and walked out into the snow. The roads were bad. I should have known better. Thick flakes were coming down like confetti, and the windshield wipers were fighting a losing battle. But I just wanted to get home, make things right. I was rehearsing in my head what I'd say to him. I'm sorry. I've been distant. I still love you. I reached for my phone to call him, and that's when it happened. The car hit black ice and everything spun out of control. But before we get to that part, I need you to know who I was, who I really was. I wasn't a monster. I thought I was helping. I told myself that over and over again. I saw women in pain, women with no support, women who were raped, women who were terrified. I believed I was doing the compassionate thing, but deep down, if I'm being honest, I had stopped feeling anything. I didn't cry anymore. Not at work, not at home. Not even when Emma, my only daughter, walked out of my life 2 years ago. She had just come back from college. Her first year away had changed her. She found faith, became a born-again Christian. At first I thought it was just a phase, but then she started questioning everything I did. One night we were in the kitchen, and she looked me in the eye and said, "Mom, you're helping kill babies." I slapped her. I didn't even think. My hand just moved. She left that night and never came back. She blocked my number. I haven't spoken to her since. I still have her graduation photo on the fridge. She's wearing a white dress and holding her diploma with both hands, grinning like she owned the world. I miss her every single day, but I didn't know how to fix it. I was too proud, too numb. And Frank? He never liked my job, said it changed me, said I used to be soft, used to be warm. Now I came home cold, distant, distracted. He didn't understand the pressure I felt, the weight of other people's choices sitting on my shoulders. He didn't see the nights I cried in the bathroom after work. He didn't know I was afraid that maybe he was right. Sometimes, after work, I'd just drive around, not go home right away. I'd sit in parking lots, stare at the sky. Denver has beautiful sunsets, especially in winter. Orange and pink, stretched out over the mountains. And I'd think, what happened to me? When did I stop feeling? Maybe you know what that's like, to wake up one day and not recognize your own life, to feel like you're walking through it with a mask on, playing a part you didn't even audition for. Maybe you felt that numbness too, where everything looks fine on the outside, but inside, you're screaming into a pillow no one can hear. I wasn't evil. I was tired of fighting with everyone, tired of defending myself, tired of feeling like a bad wife, a failed mom, and a fraud at work. I told myself I was strong, but the truth is, I was just surviving, day by day. I remember sitting in my car that night, hands frozen on the steering wheel, watching the snow hit the glass in soft, silent waves. Everything outside was white, clean, pure. And I felt the opposite, dirty, used up, worn out. So when I reached for my phone to call Frank, it wasn't just to say sorry for missing dinner. It was to say, I want to come back, to us, to something real. I never got the words out. I remember the spin, the headlights, the sound of metal crunching and shattering glass. And then, nothing. Just stillness. But I'll tell you this, it wasn't the end. Something happened in that stillness, something real, something more beautiful and more terrifying than anything I ever imagined. But I'll share that part in a moment. Right now, I just want you to know, I was human, flawed, confused, and I needed something I didn't even know I was missing. Love, truth, a second chance. And what came next changed everything. I don't remember the impact, just the spin, the headlights, that terrible moment when you realize you're not in control anymore, and then silence, complete silence. No tires, no sirens, no more body. At first, I thought I was dreaming. I felt light, like I had let go of something heavy I didn't even know I was carrying. I tried to move, but there wasn't a me to move. It's hard to explain, like floating without arms or legs, but still being. Then I saw the car. My car. Crumpled metal, tilted sideways in a snowbank off the side of the highway. The windshield was shattered, the roof bent in. And there, inside, I saw myself. I hovered above the scene, watching paramedics run up with flashlights. One of them slipped on the ice. Another shouted something and pulled out a radio. But all I could do was stare at the woman in the driver's seat. Her head was leaning against the steering wheel. My coat was soaked in blood. I remember thinking, that can't be me. That's just a body. That's not me. Then the fear hit. It came like a wave, sudden and cold. Where am I? Am I dead? Is this it? My thoughts were racing, but there was no heart beating fast, no breath getting short, just panic rising inside a silent space. I tried to scream, but I had no voice. Tried to run, but had no feet. Frank, Emma. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't fix anything. But then something changed. The cold started to lift, like the air itself was warming. I didn't see the sun, but there was light. Not harsh, not blinding, warm, golden light, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. It wrapped around me like a blanket straight out of the dryer, and the fear was gone. Not because I understood everything, but because somehow I was safe. That's when I began to rise. I wasn't flying. It wasn't fast. More like being gently pulled upward, like a leaf on a slow breeze. I passed through the snow, through the darkness, through something I can only describe as thinner than air, but fuller than anything I've ever felt. Then suddenly, the world was gone. No city, no cars, no sound of wind or snow, just meadow, miles and miles of it. Rolling hills covered in soft green grass that shimmered like glass under that golden light. Flowers of every color bloomed without effort, and the scent, oh, the scent, like every good memory you've ever had, was somehow in the air. I felt something in me begin to break open, like a locked room deep inside was slowly swinging wide. I wasn't alone anymore. I could feel him before I saw him, Love, not the kind from romance movies, not even the kind a mother has for her child. This was deeper, stronger, bigger than any love I had ever known. And then, he was there. A man, maybe in his early 30s, brown hair, simple white robe that seemed to glow. He didn't walk. He just was. And when he turned to look at me, everything stopped. His eyes. They weren't just looking at me. They were looking through me, not with judgment, but with something I'd never received before in my life. Complete understanding. He saw every part of me, every moment, every choice, every shame, every secret, and he still loved me. "Margaret," he said, and his voice was like music and thunder and home all at once. The second he spoke my name, I fell. Not down, not into darkness, but to my knees, or at least what would have been knees. My whole being just collapsed. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I sobbed. I wept. Not just tears, but the grief of years. The pain I had buried under professionalism. The guilt I had numbed with busyness. The aching loneliness I had pretended didn't exist. "I'm sorry," I kept saying. I didn't know. And he knelt with me. Not above me. Not far from me. Right beside me. He wrapped his arms around me, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to hide or explain or defend myself. All the masks, all the titles, all the reasons, gone. I wasn't Nurse Margaret anymore. I was just his child, and he loved me. Not for what I'd done, not for what I hadn't done, just because I was his. I wish I could explain what that felt like every ache I'd ever carried was melting. Like my soul, which had been shriveled and dry, was finally drinking in water again. "You were never alone," Jesus said softly, "even in the darkest places. I was with you." I didn't know what to say. Words felt small. I looked around the meadow, trying to take it in. Off in the distance, I saw a kind of city, made of light and crystal, glowing like dawn. It wasn't just beautiful, it felt alive. Like every wall, every tower was singing praise. "Am I dead?" I asked, still kneeling. He looked at me gently. "You are between." I didn't want to go back. For the first time in years, I felt free, not just from my broken body, but from everything. Regret, shame, sorrow. "I missed it," I whispered. "I wasted it. My marriage. Emma. My purpose." Jesus looked into me with those eyes that held both joy and sorrow. "You did what you thought was right. You tried to help, but now I want to show you the truth, not to condemn you, but to heal you, so you can walk in light, not carry the weight alone." I couldn't stop crying, but it wasn't the same kind of crying. It was release. Like I'd been holding my breath for decades and finally let it out. We began to walk through the meadow together, hand in hand, and as we walked, the world around us began to change. It was still light, still beautiful, but now it was showing things. Scenes from my life, my childhood, my wedding day, holding baby Emma in my arms for the first time, my first day at the clinic. Some moments made me smile, others made my chest ache. But through it all, I wasn't alone. Jesus never let go of my hand, and somewhere deep in me I knew. He was preparing me to see something even greater, something harder, but something I needed. I didn't know it yet, but what he would show me next would shake me to my core, not to destroy me, but to wake me up. To give me back my heart, to show me the truth behind the silence and the love behind the truth. We walked in silence for a while. Jesus held my hand as we moved through the glowing meadow, and though my feet didn't touch the ground in the way I was used to, I felt steady, anchored, safe. Around us, scenes from my life shimmered and shifted in the light, like soft reflections on water. I saw myself as a little girl in braids, chasing fireflies in the backyard. I saw my mother humming at the stove. I saw Frank and me dancing in our first apartment. Emma as a toddler, giggling in her high chair. Then I saw the clinic, the waiting room, the exam rooms, the procedure trays, my name tag. The same scene repeated in different colors and faces and years. I watched myself moving quickly, calmly, efficient, caring, but cold. And something in me started to tremble. Jesus turned to me and gently asked, "What do you feel?" I wanted to look away, but his voice didn't accuse. It invited. "I don't know," I whispered. "Guilt? Maybe shame?" He nodded softly. "Let's go deeper." We stopped walking, and before us, the meadow shifted. The grass folded in like pages turning. Suddenly, we were standing in what looked like a nursery. But it wasn't like any nursery on Earth. The light here was softer, almost pink, and everywhere I looked were tiny glowing orbs, floating gently like stars made of breath. They flickered with colors I couldn't name. Some moved, some rested. All of them seemed expectant. I instinctively reached toward one, and the moment I touched it, I felt something I can't fully explain. Hope, joy, purpose, life that had been meant to be. "What is this?" I asked, my voice small. Jesus looked around with a deep sadness in his eyes. These are the ones who never made it to the world, the children who were sent back to me before they had the chance to live their purpose. I swallowed hard. My throat burned. "But they're not in pain," he added quickly, gently. "They are with me. They are safe, loved." Tears ran down my face. I wasn't even trying to hold them back anymore. "They're waiting?" I asked. He nodded. Yes, not in punishment, but in patience. Their lives were not accidents. Each one was part of a design, a plan, a purpose. I dropped to my knees. I couldn't breathe, not because I didn't have lungs here, but because the weight of it pressed into my soul. "I didn't know," I whispered. I thought I was helping. I really did." Jesus knelt beside me just like he had before. "I know, Margaret," he said. "I see your heart. You weren't evil. You were blind and broken, like so many are." I looked at him, desperate. "Then why didn't you stop me? Why didn't you show me earlier?" He touched my face, and his fingers were like light and warmth and water all at once. "I tried, in quiet moments, in your daughter's voice, in the emptiness after each shift, but I never forced myself in. I never push. I wait, I knock, I whisper." I sobbed again, not in anger, not even in guilt anymore. It was grief for the truth I had missed and for the souls I never gave a chance to know. "But I was just a nurse," I said. "I didn't make their choices. I just helped." Jesus' eyes didn't change, still soft, still steady. "Yes, and your compassion was real, but it was shaped by lies." He stood and helped me up. "What lies?" I asked. "The lie that women are alone," he said. "The lie that children are a burden, that their lives are accidents, that ending a life is the same as saving one." I felt something inside me crack open, and then he said something I will never forget. "Margaret, love without truth is not love, and truth without love is not truth." That hit me like thunder, because deep down, I knew it was true. I had spent years giving women compassion, but not offering them the truth that their babies were real, that they mattered, that God had a plan. And I had rejected truth when it came with harsh voices, shaming words. But now, standing with truth himself, wrapped in perfect love, I understood. Real healing needs both. "You're not condemning me?" I asked. Jesus smiled. "No, my daughter. I came to save, not to shame. You've seen the truth now, and because you've seen it, you're free to walk in it." I looked around the glowing nursery, still filled with those tiny lights. "What happens to them?" I asked. "They are with me," he said. "They know they are loved, but their stories remain unwritten in the world below, and there are still so many who are blind, so many children who grow up wounded, lost, or afraid, children who were born but never seen." His voice grew soft. "Would you go back, Margaret?" I blinked. Back? To the world. I didn't want to, not even a little. "How could I leave this?" I whispered. "This peace? This love? I don't want to go back to the pain, the noise, the failure." He stepped closer. "But they need you," he said. "The ones still in pain, the women who feel they have no choice, the daughters who are angry, the husbands who are afraid, the babies yet to be born." "I'm not strong enough," I said. He smiled again. "You're not, but I am, and I will be with you." That stopped me. My whole life I had carried everything on my own shoulders, my job, my family, my shame. But here, he was offering something different: partnership, strength, purpose. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "Tell the truth, in love. Help the broken heal. Help the blind see. Show them what you've seen. Remind them that they are not alone, that I have not forgotten them, that there is always another way." He paused, then added gently, "Tell them they are not too far gone. Neither are you." And right then, something shifted in me, not all at once, but like a locked door creaking open. I didn't want to go, but I wanted to obey, because if Jesus loved me enough to hold me in my darkest truth, then maybe he could use me to help others out of theirs. I looked up at him. "Okay," I said. My voice trembled. "If you'll be with me, I'll go." He nodded. "You are not leaving me behind. You're taking me with you." Then he touched my forehead, and everything began to fade. The meadow, the nursery, the golden light, and his voice echoed as the world shifted again. "You were made for more, Margaret. Now go, and love them into the light." The first thing I remember was the pain, a sharp, deep, electric kind of pain, like being yanked through a tunnel of fire and ice all at once. I gasped. My body didn't want to move, but suddenly I was in it again. I heard beeping, hushed voices, the sound of machines. A fluorescent light buzzed above me. The air smelled like alcohol and bleach, and for a moment I panicked. Where's the meadow? Where's the light? Where's Jesus? Then I felt something. Peace. Still inside me. Not the loud kind, but quiet. Like a whisper that stays even when everything else is screaming. I was in the ICU, tubes in my nose. My right arm bandaged and stiff, my ribs aching. But I was alive. Doctors would later tell me I had a severe concussion, a punctured lung, and internal bleeding. That I was lucky to be alive. But it wasn't luck. I knew that. I had died, and I had come back different. The first person I asked for was Emma. I could barely speak, but I whispered her name to the nurse. She blinked at me and said, "I think she's in the hallway." When Emma walked in, I started crying. Not just tears, but full, shaking sobs. She looked older than I remembered, wiser. Still my baby girl, but stronger somehow. She stood there frozen for a second, like she wasn't sure what to do. Then she came to me and held my hand. "I saw him," I whispered, and her face crumpled. She nodded through her own tears. "I know, Mom. I know." We didn't fix everything in that one moment, but it was the beginning, and beginnings matter. Over the next few weeks, as I healed, I couldn't stop thinking about what Jesus had shown me. Those tiny lights, the nursery of unborn souls, the truth, the love, the mission. I saw everything differently now. Frank came to see me every day, sat by my bed, fed me applesauce when my hands were too weak to hold a spoon. One night, I looked at him and whispered, "I'm sorry I pushed you away." He reached out and brushed my hair back. "I didn't know how to help you," he said, "but I never stopped loving you." After I was discharged, we both agreed to start counseling. We'd tried years ago and quit after 3 sessions. This time, we stayed. We didn't just want to save our marriage, we wanted to rebuild it. I also left my job. It wasn't easy. I had coworkers I cared about. I had benefits, a routine, a paycheck. But I knew I couldn't go back. Not after what I'd seen. Instead, I joined a pregnancy resource center across town. It wasn't fancy, no high-tech equipment or endless supplies, but it was full of hope. Real, messy, everyday hope. Now I help scared women and speak the truth in love. We talk about adoption, housing, baby clothes, job training. We cry together. We pray together. And when they choose life, we celebrate. Not just the birth, but the restoration of dignity, of family, of faith. But the biggest change wasn't in my job. It was in how I see people. The teenager who walks in crying, I don't see a problem, I see a soul. The angry father pacing outside, I see a man who's scared to fail. The woman who says, "I can't do this." I look at her and say, "You don't have to do it alone." Because I know what loneliness feels like. I know what it's like to make choices from fear instead of truth. And I know what it's like to be held by Jesus when you think you're beyond saving. Emma and I are still healing, but our relationship has bloomed in a way I never thought possible. We go on long walks now. She brings me journals with scriptures. I share stories from work. Sometimes we cry together. Sometimes we laugh. One Sunday, I stood next to her at church, and she reached over and held my hand during worship. No words, just love. That moment meant more to me than any award, any paycheck, any clean house or organized schedule ever did. My priorities are completely different now. Before, I worked overtime to avoid thinking I filled my schedule, to avoid feeling I ignored pain so I could appear strong. Now, I stop to hug my husband when he gets home. I answer Emma's texts. Even when I'm tired, I say no to extra shifts so I can rest. So I can live, I say yes to small things. Dinners, walks, heart-to-hearts, because they are not small at all. I live with eternity in my view now. Every decision, every moment, every person, it all matters. I think about those little lights, about the voices we never heard, and I think about the ones still here, the children who are growing up in fear, confusion, silence. I share my story whenever I can, not to shame, not to argue, but to invite. Invite people to open their eyes, to feel again, to forgive, to return, to love with truth. Because love without truth is just comfort, and truth without love is just noise. But when the two meet, real transformation happens. Sometimes people ask me, "Do you regret what you did before?" And my answer is, I regret not knowing, but I don't regret being shown. Because Jesus didn't come to crush me. He came to free me. And if he can do that for me, he can do that for anyone. If you're reading this and you feel too far gone, if you're weighed down by secrets, if you've made choices you wish you could undo, please hear me. Jesus still wants you. He still sees you. He still calls you by name. And he will meet you where you are, not to shame you, but to bring you home. I started this story by saying I was 47 years old and had just died. Now I'll end it by saying I finally know what it means to live. Not just survive, not just function, but to live, wide open, heart full, hand in hand with the one who made me. And I hope you'll take his hand too, because he's already reaching out.